Hi, I'm Florence from New York. If for some reason you're in a bad mood today, the new video on the Private Diaries channel will cheer you right up. Press like, subscribe to the channel, and get comfy. A few years ago, my dad left to get the milk and never came back. He left his family in search of a better life. Mom and I were left alone and had a really hard time. Mom had to work with no days off to provide for us and pay rent. I tried to help her as much as I could, and I got a part-time job as a waitress. Sometimes things didn't work out the way I wanted them to, but Mom and I did not give up, and we always found something to be happy about. One day, I was running late for work because I'd spent too long feeding ducks in Central Park. Oh no! Mr. Sullivan will be furious if I'm late again. I was running down to the subway platform when I twisted my ankle. I was sure I was about to fall, but strong arms caught me. I shyly looked up at my savior, and I saw the face of an angel. That guy was ridiculously gorgeous. His hair seemed to be flying in slow motion, and he was looking straight into my soul with his sky blue eyes. At that moment, time seemed to stop. The whole world disappeared, leaving only me and that incredible stranger. Are you all right? I opened my mouth to answer, but only managed to blush, speechless. At that moment, the train arrived at the station. I ran into the cabin and sat down in an empty seat. My heart was beating out of my chest like a bird trying to escape from a cage. I had to pull myself together. He was just a stranger. Trying to calm down, I pulled a notebook out of my backpack. I often drew random passengers on the subway to pass the time, so I had to choose my new model. And then I saw the gorgeous stranger sitting opposite me. He had his face buried in a book, and he wasn't looking in my direction. I carefully started to sketch his face. He looked up at me and smiled slyly. I turned red as a lobster and quickly turned away. We kept stealing glances at each other, but eventually he got off at one of the stations. The doors closed and I pressed up against the window to stare after the stranger. He took a couple of steps and then suddenly turned around and gave me a mysterious smile. I realized I was head over heels in love with him, even though I didn't even know his name. I clutched his portrait to my chest, but then I was snapped out of my daydreams when I realized I'd missed my own stop ages ago. Naturally, I was late for work. My boss, Mr. Sullivan, was furious and grumbled at me the whole day, but I didn't pay him any mind. All I could think about was the beautiful stranger.
Can you focus already? Go serve the tables.
I nodded and walked over to one of the guests with a silly smile. Can I take your order? That's when I realized the guest was my annoying classmate and lost my temper. Henry, what are you doing here?
I came to see my girlfriend.
How many times do I have to say this? We are not an item.
We could change that. Florence, I'm really into you.
Well, I'm not into you. Go away and let me do my job. Henry left, but not before blowing me a kiss.
I'll win you over yet, Miss Feisty.
How could he be so freaking clingy? Henry didn't take no for an answer, which drove me up the wall. But that day, even he couldn't ruin my mood. The next day, I started looking for my best friend as soon as I got to school. Monica made an entrance as usual. She rode down the hallway on a skateboard and stopped next to me. The principal will give you a detention if he sees you skate.
Rules were made to be broken.
I told my friend about the guy I met on the subway, and she immediately started to tease me. If that guy was so amazing, why didn't you get his number? Are you kidding me? I would have fainted.
Oh, Florence, you need to work on your shyness. It's holding you back.
I showed her the sketch of the mysterious handsome guy that I'd drawn. My friend stared at it thoughtfully.
I feel like I've seen him before.
Really?
Yeah, just now in the hallway.
Monica put away my notebook, and I saw that guy standing in the same freaking hallway as us. He was chatting casually with some boys and throwing playful glances at me. What was he doing there?
Come on, hit on him.
No, I can't! I blushed from head to toe and ran into the nearest classroom. When the lesson started, the teacher said a new student had transferred to our class, and then he walked in. My heart started racing again.
Tell us a little about yourself. My name is Sebastian Collins. My family recently moved to New York.
It was clear Sebastian recognized me. He came up to the desk next to mine, and he asked if he could sit there. You should sit somewhere else. You smell like rotten fish. Nonplussed, he sat at the back of the class. Monica stared at me blankly. Are you out of your mind? Why would you say something that rude to him? I don't know. It just came out. I don't want Sebastian to know about my enormous crush on him. Monica face-palmed. I knew I was acting like a moron, but I couldn't help it. I felt so shy and self-conscious. I had to hide behind rudeness. That evening, I was sitting on my windowsill listening to music and dreaming. All of a sudden, I saw a silhouette in the window across from mine. I took a closer look, and I almost fell off my windowsill. It was Sebastian. Can you believe it? I lived next door to my crush. I grabbed the binoculars to watch him. It was dark in my room, so I wasn't afraid that Sebastian would notice me. He was playing with his cat, and he looked so carefree and happy. I couldn't help but smile. And then Sebastian came up to the window and slowly started to pull off his t-shirt. I was all but drooling. Come on, just a bit more. I wanted to see his abs. But then Mom suddenly walked into my room and turned on the light. Sebastian noticed me standing in front of the window. His eyes bugged out. Holy mother of cows. I jumped off the windowsill and sat down on my floor. My heart was pounding. I wanted to sink through my floor. Mom squinted at me slyly.
Florence, have you been spying on our new neighbor?
Mom, how could you even think that? I was, watching a bird.
Really? Does that bird happen to go to the same school as you?
Mom, don't tease me. I kicked Mom out of my room and flopped onto my bed. I really hoped Sebastian hadn't recognized me. Unfortunately, the next day at school, he came up to me and asked me about it.
Hey, were you watching me yesterday? Do you like me?
I wanted to say that I was crazy about him, but I was so nervous my brain shut down and I snapped at him again. Don't flatter yourself. I don't care about you at all. I tried to look indifferent, even though I felt like I was gonna lose it. Sebastian walked away confused. Monica rode up to me on her skateboard. I was done for.
Florence, what the heck are you doing? You like him.
I know, but I always feel so self-conscious that I start talking nonsense.
You're going to go to Sebastian right now and confess to him.
No, I shake with nerves every time I see him. We probably would have kept arguing if Henry hadn't come up to us, wiggling his eyebrows. That was the last thing I needed.
Florence, when are you finally gonna say yes to a date with me?
Do you have memory problems? I told you I'd never go out with you.
Henry, quit following Florence around like a shadow.
After that, Monica tried to act like Cupid to set me up with Sebastian. We always used to pair up during labs, but that day, she chose Henry as her partner in chemistry class.
Florence and Sebastian are the only ones without a partner, so you two will work together.
Monica whispered that it was my chance. Unfortunately, I messed it all up and went off on the guy of my dreams. Again, I'd rather be paired up with a cactus. It probably would be more helpful. I was furious with myself for saying that, but I simply couldn't help it. I was feeling too self-conscious to act normal and be myself. I begged Monica to stop trying to set us up, but my friend wouldn't back down. She even sent Sebastian to the cafe I worked at. That didn't go well, because I accidentally spilled coffee on Sebastian. He probably thought I did it on purpose. On my birthday, I threw a party and invited all my friends to it. We were playing Truth or Dare and eating pizza. At one point, I chose Dare. As soon as I saw Monica's sly smile, I knew she had something crazy in mind.
Florence, sneak into the boys' locker room during gym class and steal Sebastian's underwear.
I said there was no way I would do that, but all the girls frowned and told me not to break the rules of the game. Dang it, I had to agree. Soon, Mom came home from work. I knew she was terribly tired and wanted some peace and quiet, so I asked my friends to leave. The next day, I snuck into the boys' locker room as promised, found Sebastian's locker, and stole his underwear. Things seemed to be going smoothly, and I was about to leave when the door suddenly opened and Monica pushed Sebastian into the locker room.
I told you Florence likes you. Look, she even stole your underwear.
With those words, she ran off, laughing. I was so embarrassed, I wanted to move to another planet. Sebastian looked at the underwear in my hands in surprise and said something I wasn't expecting.
Actually, that's not mine.
What? Then whose is it? Henry skipped into the locker room.
That's my underwear. I knew you liked me, Florence.
I wanted to rip my hair out. I must have opened the wrong locker. After all that, I had no choice but to run out of the locker room, red as a tomato. I tracked Monica down and gave her a piece of my mind. But my friend glared at me like I was the one in the wrong.
I was just trying to help you, but it's too late now. The most beautiful girl at school has apparently fallen for Sebastian.
Susie? No way.
Yes, way. And you know why? Because unlike you, Susie didn't give Sebastian the cold shoulder.
I saw Sebastian gently holding Susie's hand, and I almost burst into tears out of sheer frustration. Before going to bed that day, I stared at my sketch of Sebastian and I sighed sadly. I lost my chance to be with the guy of my dreams because I lacked confidence. Dang it, Florence. I kept beating myself up until I fell asleep. That night, I dreamed that I climbed out of the window and crawled down a ladder toward my love.
Baby, don't look down.
That dream helped me realize that I had to fight for my happiness. So, in the morning, I finally decided to act. At school, I plucked up the courage and I came up to Sebastian. I want to explain why I've been acting so weird. Can we talk? To my surprise, he glared at me.
Go talk to a cactus instead.
I got goosebumps. He was so cold I wanted to snap back at him, but I held back. After all, I knew perfectly well I could only blame myself. Sebastian walked past me without a sparing glance, and Monica immediately came up to me.
Don't give up, Florence. I'm sure he likes you too. He's only gone on a date with Susie to get back at you.
Monica thought for a while and came up with another brilliant plan.
You need to make Sebastian jealous. Who do you want to use as your fake boyfriend?
Right on cue, Henry came up to us and used one of his ridiculous pickup lines on me. My friend gave me a thumbs up.
Go for it, Flo.
Love really does make us do crazy things, because I decided to listen to Monica. Can you believe it? Henry, you've asked me out so many times, and I just want to say, yes, I will be your girlfriend. He beamed at me and was clearly over the moon. I was just hoping Monica's plan would work. From that day on, Henry and I were an item. Sort of. Henry was a real gentleman and treated me like a queen. He walked me home, supported me, gave me gifts. One day, he even came over without warning to meet my mother.
Florence, you didn't tell me you had a sister. Oh, stop it.
As you can see, he made a great impression on her. Henry and I went to my room to play video games. I looked up and I saw Sebastian. He was standing in front of his window and watching us with a sad look on his face. And then he closed the curtains. Was Monica's plan working? A week went by. Dating Henry was good for me. I became more sure of myself. Meanwhile, Sebastian kept getting sadder by the day. At school, he would sneak glances at Henry and me and sigh. And one day, I heard Sebastian tell Susie they needed to have a serious talk, after which they hid in a classroom. I was dying of curiosity, so I hid behind the door and I eavesdropped on them.
Susie, I'm sorry. I only went out with you to make the girl that I like jealous, but she doesn't care about me at all.
Susie stormed out of the classroom furious. I found Monica and I told her that her plan had worked.
Well, what are you waiting for? Go to Sebastian and tell him your feelings.
You're right. I need to tell him I love him. I ran towards Sebastian, but all of a sudden, I realized something was wrong. I felt a burning pain in my side. The world swam before my eyes. I felt dizzy, but I kept walking. Henry ran up to me.
Florence, are you feeling all right?
I need to tell Sebastian that I tried to take another step, but the world went dark before my eyes, and I fainted. When I came to, I was in a hospital. Mom was sitting next to me and holding my hand. She told me that I had an appendicitis attack.
The worst is behind us now. You'll get better soon, and I'll be with you every step of the way.
What about your job?
Florence, there's nothing that matters more to me than you. My job can wait.
Thanks to Mom, I recovered with the speed of light. I spent a few more days in the hospital, and I was thinking about Sebastian the whole time. I still hadn't gotten to tell him how much he meant to me. Soon, I was discharged, but I had to stay at home for a few more days after that. Sebastian's window was closed with curtains, and I couldn't see him. Henry visited me every day and took care of me. I wanted to admit that I'd been using him to make someone feel jealous, but I kept silent because I didn't want to hurt him. Monica visited me a lot too.
Flo, Henry's bragging to everyone at school about you two. You have to tell him the truth.
I know, but it won't be easy. How's Sebastian doing?
He looks like a sad shrimp.
I promised myself that I would talk to both boys as soon as the doctor let me go to school again. That was the only thing I wasn't worried about though. Mom stopped leaving the apartment and looked pretty depressed. Mom, what's wrong?
I was fired, but I'll find another job. Don't worry.
Of course you will. You're the coolest. Eventually, I recovered enough to come back to school, but for some reason, Sebastian was nowhere to be seen. Monica said he hadn't come to school in several days. I was worried that something bad had happened to him. When Henry came up to me and tried to hug me, I gently pulled away. I'm sorry, but I love someone else. I only see you as a friend. I told Henry the truth about everything. He was so pissed off, he left without a word. I didn't wait for the end of classes to run to Sebastian's house. To my surprise, it wasn't his parents who opened the door when I rang the doorbell, but complete strangers. They said the previous tenants had moved a few days ago. Of course, as luck would have it, they didn't know their new address. I couldn't find Sebastian on social media, and I'd never plucked up the courage to ask for his phone number when I had the chance. It seemed like I'd have to accept that I'd lost out on Sebastian forever. A few days later, Henry finally spoke to me again.
I've been thinking, and love can't be forced. I forgive you, Florence. Let's be friends.
It was a huge weight off my shoulders. I pulled Henry into a crushing hug. Soon, Mom told me great news. She'd been offered an amazing, high-paying job. Wow! Congrats!
There is one thing, though. We'll have to move to another city.
Oh, geez. I didn't want to leave my friends and start over at a new school, but Monica helped me change my perspective.
Don't be a chicken. Your insecurities already cost you Sebastian. You'll have to take a risk if you want to achieve something. Besides, we'll still be friends.
I wiped away my tears and I hugged Monica. You're right. Oh, I'm gonna miss you like crazy. You're the bravest and the coolest girl I know.
Oh, stop it, or I'll start crying too.
Soon, we moved to a new city. Mom's company provided us with an apartment. It was great, even though it was still being renovated when we arrived. There were cans of paint, ladders, and all sorts of other stuff strewn about.
This is your room, Florence. Things are looking up. I can feel it.
With those words, Mom left my room. I hung my sketch of Sebastian on the wall and I stared at it sadly. And then I saw a familiar face in the window across from mine, and tears of joy streamed down my face. Sebastian? I can't believe it! This must be fate! I opened the window and I waved at him. Sebastian waved back. I saw a ladder in the corner of my room and I remembered Monica's words. She was right. I had to be brave to get what I wanted. I grabbed the ladder and I moved it so I could climb over to Sebastian's window. We crawled toward each other and we met in the middle. Sebastian, I've been meaning to say for a long time that I love. Before I could finish, he pressed a finger to my lips and smiled.
Shh, you don't need to say anything. I know.